Today, in the honor of Easter, we are talking about the folklore of the Easter Bunny, the folklore of hares in general, and a Brothers Grimm story called The Hare's Bride, where a girl has to marry a bunny. Like the Brothers Grimm stories, the Easter Bunny is German in origin. It started as a German Lutheran tradition. Not surprisingly, much like the Christmas Santa Claus and then evil helper characters, the Easter hare started as a judge for whether kids are good or bad. During Eastertide, the hare would take note of whether children were naughty or nice, as it were, and then come around with colored eggs in a basket and candy or toys for the kids who were good. The custom was first mentioned in 1682 in a book about German folk belief about an Easter hare laying eggs for children to find in the morning. But the religious symbology of hares goes back even further than that. This is the three hares, which is a circular motif that has been present in Asia since at least the 6th century. The hares are represented as chasing each other and forming a triskelion. It spread from Asia to Western Europe through trade routes and was thought to have originally represented fertility or the lunar cycle, but then in medieval times it got adopted by Christianity in Western Europe as representing the Trinity. So it was widely believed in ancient Greece that hares were all hermaphrodites, meaning all of them had both sex organs and that they reproduced without sexual activity at all. I tried to find why they believed that, couldn't really find anything, but Pliny, Plutarch, and Pleostratus, ancient Greek writers, all wrote about it. So this idea that rabbits could reproduce sort of with a technical virgin birth, that they got themselves pregnant and had their children, led to them having an association with the Virgin Mary in Northern and Western Europe in medieval times. And yet, as you probably already know, the pagan association with rabbits more has to do with fertility because of the rapidness at which they seem to reproduce. Because of that, they are also associated with a possible early pagan Anglo-Saxon goddess where we get the word Easter from. Her name is Ostara or Oster. The Grimms not only wrote down Germanic folklore, but they were very into studying the past and the pagan past of Germany, and Jacob Grimm absolutely believed that she probably was a real early goddess. We get what we know about her from an English monk writing in the 8th century, and basically scholars are split about whether she was really a goddess that was worshipped by ancient people. The English word Easter definitely does come from Old German, from that word there. And like I said, Bede, that he was that monk in the 8th century, thought that it probably came from the goddess Esther, whose feasts were celebrated during that month. Today, modern-day neo-pagans celebrate Ostara, which is a pagan/Wiccan holiday that's between March 20th and 23rd, and it has to do with the spring equinox. Now, some people say the whole egg thing comes from medieval Europe, where during Lent you couldn't eat any animal product, including eggs, so before that, kids could go around begging for eggs right before Lent started. But folklorists who go more the Ostara route say that it's because of a story associated with her. There was a bird that was laying eggs, and that Ostara transformed the bird into a hare, and the hare responded in gratitude by laying colored eggs for her festival. But let's get back to the Brothers Grimm story, The Hare's Bride, where, as I mentioned, a girl has to marry a bunny. So it starts with a girl who lives with her mother, and there's a bunch of cabbages that this one hare keeps getting in and eating all of the cabbages. The mom tells her to go shoo the hare away, but when she does, the hare's like, "Get on my tail and come with me to my home." But she keeps saying no. So this happens 3 times, as usual. And without really explaining why, the 3rd time she says yes, and she gets on his tail and goes with him to his hut. He looks really creepy in this picture. A romantic illustration by Erica Levesque. But as soon as she gets to his hut, he's like, "All right, prepare some cabbage and some millet," which is like a cereal, like a grain. "I'm gonna go invite some guests to our wedding." So guess they're getting married. So the story says, then the wedding guests arrived, and who were the guests? Well, they were hares. The crow was there as the parson to marry the bride and bridegroom. The fox served as the sexton, and their altar was under a rainbow, which is lovely, actually. I think I'd love to get married under a rainbow. It says, but the girl was sad, for she was all alone. I can think of a lot of reasons for her to be sad in this moment. So the hare came up to her and said, open the door, the wedding guests are making merry." But the bride just cried and said nothing. So he does this 3 times. He goes back to the guest. She still won't come out. He goes back and he's like, "Come out and get married to me." And she's just still crying. So the last time she gets a straw doll. Don't know if she makes it or it was already there. It just says she dressed a straw doll in her clothes, gave it a stirring spoon, and stood it next to the millet pot, and then went back to her mother, presumably naked, possibly? And it said the Hare came back and said, open the door, and then he comes in and he strikes the doll in the head so that its cap fell off. Like, dang, he was gonna come in and just hit this girl. But the last sentence is just, the Hare saw this was not his bride and sadly went away. And it just ends there. Doesn't say if he continues to eat their cabbages or she goes home naked and she's like, Mom, you gotta take care of the hair problem yourself now because look what I had to go through. Now, humans marrying animals is a huge theme in folklore and fairy tales. Usually the animal ends up being enchanted and transforms in some way, and it ends up being a happy thing. And it's interesting that in this one, he's just a rabbit. And she's just like, nah, this sucks, I'm out. It's hard to interpret this story because it isn't very clear, but I kind of like interpreting it as the rabbit is just this selfish person. He only cares about his own needs. He wants the cabbage, he wants the girl, and he just presumes that he can have all of those things because he wants them. And at first the girl gives in because she feels like she has to or because of pressure from her mother. But then once she's in there and she realizes it sucks, she's like, I don't have to do this. And she doesn't. She just leaves. And then the rabbit realizes, oh, maybe I should have cared about other people's feelings. Now I'm sad and alone. Maybe next time I'll try being a decent, empathetic person. At least we can always hope so. Check out my book, Dust Spells, which is a reimagining of the Brothers Grimm story, The 12 Dancing Princesses, which has a little more depth and clarity. And my podcast, Folk Tales and Fairy Lore. My link is in the bio. Happy Easter! Also, I'm staying at my parents' right now, for the holidays, and they have this Easter card on their kitchen table that's just horrifying to me. This female bunny does not look into this dude, and I'm really not sure why or how they just hatched out of this egg. Oh my god, we just hatched Roland. Can you give me some space for just a second? Come on, just give us a smooch. The fear in her eyes. I don't know.